Hey everybody, Mama K coming at you. I just wanted to say hi, and first video we've got coming up is talking about kombucha, making my kombucha. So make sure you like and follow this page, as well as hop over to my YouTube channel where you'll see the entire video. And make sure that if you like the video, you make sure you like and subscribe over there. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks. Hey everybody, just wanted to give you a quick lesson here on making my kombucha. Nothing special, but in case anybody wants to know how to do it, it's pretty easy. I'd never made kombucha until I started making it not that long ago, and I've been making it on a regular basis. Alright, so here we're just making the stuff base for the kombucha, which is just basically a black tea, sweet black tea, and I am just using just regular old black tea, nothing special, and we'll be adding the sugar. And for those that might think they could skip the sugar, you cannot skip the sugar no matter what. You can use cane sugar, you can use regular sugar, like I'm just using this regular granulated sugar for this. But right now I'm doing a base of 8 tea bags to 3.5 quarts of water, and then 1 cup of sugar. So I've already made the tea, so I'm just going to dump this in here and give it a little stir to dissolve all the stuff. And then we will proceed to make the kombucha base again for the first fermentation, and we'll do that in a minute. So, I was thinking while I'm standing here stirring for a minute, just wanted to clarify about the sugar. So again, yes, you cannot skip this step, because this is what feeds the bacteria in your SCOBY. If you just make plain black tea, you'll have black tea to feed the SCOBY, which is fed by the tannins. But you won't have any sugar, and it's not going to be very happy, and it's not going to produce all the good probiotic things that you would like for your kombucha. So it's very important to add sugar. So right now I've got a bunch of things going on here fermenting-wise. It's totally a kitchen lab night, afternoon and evening. So right here I've got the kombucha that's been fermenting for probably a couple weeks. It's taken a little longer just because of the colder weather, but my apartment stays pretty warm, so I don't have to worry about putting a warming band or anything on this. It just takes a little bit longer, a little bit slower. I got my nice SCOBYs pretty good in there. And actually today, since I wouldn't do the video, actually this was a good time. This is my SCOBY hotel, where I've got a bunch of little babies in there, and then this really nice, kind of big one that just developed here on the top. So that's what we got going on. This back here, this is some of the kombucha out of this guy. So this is my mama here, and that's what we're going with. And then tonight I'm going to do a couple different kinds of stuff for the second fermentation. One is going to be just a coffee kombucha. So we'll put some cold brew in there with this stuff. It's one to fight off the pandemic stuff and in cold and flu season, in addition to the lovely flu shots that I got. Anyway, this is a spicy ginger, turmeric, pineapple thing. This is just some stuff that I got concocted here, just kind of hanging out in the bottom. With some pineapple juice, had some jalapenos, so I threw those in there, some ginger, a cinnamon stick, and that's just kind of hanging out there waiting for me to put everything together. And then I'm going to add some sugar in there in a few minutes. So for the sugar, actually I usually use panela or a piloncillo, which is it's a Mexican cane sugar that's compressed into a little cone, and I like the taste of that. But due to supply and demand sort of things going on right now, I'm going to use just some regular cane sugar. I'm not endorsing any brands here, but this is the one I have often gotten, and if I can't find the stuff that I'm really looking for, it's just a regular pure cane sugar. I can also use brown sugar. I've got like dark brown sugar and light brown sugar that I have used before when I first started doing this. So far, the Pioncillo is the one that I like the best. Anyway, so let's get started here with some of this stuff. So we're going to do, first we're going to take care of the second fermentation step. And then we're also going to feed, once we get this refilled with the tea base, we're going to put some of that in there to feed the baby scobies. And then we can put everything away. This stuff will second ferment, which means it just hangs out for a little bit and does additional fermenting. Gets some nice carbonation in here. And then this one will basically take a couple weeks probably for it to get back to this state. So here we go. Alright, so I know I'm not doing a professional job here with the lighting. I've got a halo on my head, so I guess that means I'm innocent. So first thing I'm going to do actually is take out this SCOBY out of this guy here. So basically a SCOBY is just a whole bunch of nice bacteria that's helping create the probiotic effect. You can Google all that stuff. I've already taken out a bit of this stuff because I want to use this as a starter for the next batch. I'm also gotten some other fermentation things happening tonight, so I'm actually going to use some of this stuff for some of those things that we'll talk about later on another video. So basically I want to take this and we're going to add it to our second fermentation jars. I've got these half-gallon growlers and they've got these nice little lids that seal up, and then I have to burp them every day, so that means I'm letting out all the little carbonation just to make sure nothing explodes on me, because it could happen. So we will do that here in 1 second. I've got probably almost a quarter cup of that cane sugar in each of these second fermentation jars. Again, that's important because you got to feed your kombucha mix. Yeah, most of the time it really doesn't, it's not really adding like the sweet. You get a little bit of sweet out of it, but that bacteria and everything is going to actually eat all of that sugar, so you're not actually consuming the sugar. So anyway, we're going to take this, and I have this nice sun tea jar, my special kitty sun tea jar. Kind of does this nice continuous brew, so I can either use the spigot on this, which actually I use most of the time for just doing a little taste test on it to see where it is. I like it pretty tart, so nice. We'll get a nice sweet and tart sort of out of it when we actually do this after the second fermentation is done. So I'm just going to take some of this and we're going to pull this over here so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to have these jars with my funnels right in front of my face. So I'm going to be pouring expertly into each of these just a little bit because we're doing a couple different kinds. Let's do this. And we're going to actually make a little bit more of the coffee because I have people in my life that love this coffee kombucha. And I share that with them. So this other one is not as popular for sharing, so I'm making a little bit less of that. So this stuff is going to the coffee. So we've got that poured out, and all of our ingredients are in here except for the cold brew, which I'm going to grab. Anyway, so now I've got my cold brew. This is just a regular cold brew that I made a couple days ago. Filtered it out, and it's been hanging out in the fridge waiting for this little guy to be ready to do all this stuff. So I'm going to put in just a little cold brew, and we're probably talking about maybe a cup or so. I just kind of go by color, but I want to make sure that this is nice and coffee-y, kombucha-y. And the reason I don't do this in the first round of all this fermentation is because I don't want the SCOBY to be tainted with the coffee, but also I think it does actually a really much better job here in the second fermentation. You just have to kind of watch the coffee oils a little bit because coffee could tend to get a little funky if you let this sit out at room temperature for too long, but I usually don't. Usually takes a couple of days for this to go, and that's right about the time that it sounds like, yeah, that's probably about good to do that. So anyway, so we've got our, take these funnels off here, because I don't need those anymore. So I've got this nice coffee kombucha, about a half gallon's worth, and the spicy ginger turmeric thing, and then you'll see that all this stuff kind of hanging out in the bottom. And we close this up, we'll do a nice little shaky shake on it. Oops, I lost my, there we go. Sorry, I lost my fancy, which is also, it's a kitchen towel. One of these days we'll do a more professional lighting and all that stuff. But hey, you know what? It's okay. I'm just teaching you. Sharing my fun, because I love doing this. So anyway, so I got this, the lid on here. We're just going to do a little gentle shaky shake. If anybody's ever watched Moonshiners, you see how they do this with the bubbles? It's kind of the same thing. We're just kind of giving this a little agitation in here. You could actually pour this into a bowl and whisk it up and then pour it into the bottle. I just like to do this because it's fun. Kind of shake this up and watch all the things. Now, I do have a dried chili pepper in there in addition to the jalapenos. I forgot about that until I just saw it floating. So this is going to have a nice little spicy kick to it. So stir, 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 stir. And then I just want to open this up real quick just to make sure I don't have too much carbonation already like building up in there because we've been shaking it up. And then this one, we will add the lid to it. Locate what I did with the lid. Anyway, alright, located the lid. I had buried it behind my fancy kitchen stand here. Anyway, coffee. We're going to be very careful with this one because this is a lot fuller. Now, if I was to fill this up and this was the only thing, we want to make sure we left a nice headspace. So we've got plenty of headspace in here. That way this thing doesn't like build up and build up and build up and then cause all kinds of nasty things happening, explosive things happening in our kombucha making station. So I'm going to give this a nice shaky shake. Again, kind of like I did with the last one, I want to just nicely, gently shake this. And I'm going to burp it a little bit just for fun. Alright, so there we have it. And actually, this is some nice, see it here. We'll have to do some switcheroo of the camera here so I can show you what this looks like from the top. But yeah, so we got our kombucha, coffee kombucha, and our spicy mix of stuff. Sure to cure any cold, flu sort of things, but to fight off all the bad stuff. So I just want to show you what this looked like. This is with the dried peppers and everything kind of floating around in there. There we go. And then this is the coffee. So it's already getting nice and foamy just from the shaky shakies, and everything's just kind of hanging out. And so in a couple days this will be ready to pop open and drink. If you want to drink at room temperature. Otherwise, what I'll do is I'll just take this thing and make sure I burp it, and we'll put the lid back on and then throw it in the fridge so it stops the carbonation process, but the stuff will stay pretty carbonated. And then I'll be able to put it in little bottles, swing top bottles, and make it easier to pour, or I can just leave it in this thing and let it hang out and pour it into a glass as I'm ready to drink it. Alright, so now we've got all that stuff done. So we have our jar here, wiped off the spigot a little bit, just check the inside, make sure there's nothing funky growing on it, you know, like there's any mold or anything like that. Just want to make sure everything is nice and clean. Which, by the way, I didn't mention before, so I always make sure that I wipe my surface down, cleaning it up, make sure that's extra clean. And then I'll take some of the SCOBY. Actually, I'll take some of the stuff from the SCOBY Hotel because it's very vinegary. You wouldn't want to drink it. Very vinegary and good for just that, actually, for cleaning. To help make sure that there's no like weird bacteria that happens to get into and contaminate my kombucha. So right now, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna take our starter stuff here, and we're actually gonna pour it back in, minus just a little bit here that I'm holding back to use for my other little projects that I've got going on. And then, let's see, we were going to switch this out. Alright, so on a normal batch day, I will just take this same SCOBY and throw it back in the jar and let it keep doing its thing. But since we're doing this video and I need to feed the hotel here, I'm going to take out one of these little baby SCOBYs and my giant guy here. Like almost becoming its own. I mean, that's thick. I wouldn't want to use this and put this directly in there because that's pretty thick. I could peel off some layers though. But like, so I've got this nice little guy that just came out with that. There's also some other like regular sized ones in here. And then there's just some other little tiny ones that are kind of there hanging out. It's almost like having a little aquarium or something, but here's a little baby that kind of attached itself to a bigger one. We've got all kinds of stuff happening in here, so there's a really thick one. That one was hanging out at the bottom. I think I'm going to actually get rid of this one. I think this one is dead because it was literally sunk in the bottom. There's no layers to it. It's actually just really thick, so I'm going to unfortunately say goodbye to that one. So anyway, we've got a bunch of stuff to choose from here, but so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take one of these guys. I'm gonna carefully select one here. We've got this one that looks pretty nice. It's all nice and brown. It kind of looks like almost like a little brain. So we're gonna take Mr. Brain here and we're gonna put it in with our SCOBY batch here. We'll come back to this pile of stuff in a moment. So I'm gonna grab my tea, which I've got hanging out over here. From the portion of the video, this one I usually do. My normal ratio is 8 bags of black tea to 1 cup of sugar. And again, you have to use sugar. You cannot not use sugar because otherwise you will mess up the whole process. Your little SCOBY will starve to death and nothing will happen. There may be just enough sugar in there, but not enough. I mean, just enough sugar that's left in your SCOBY, and you'll end up with probably a dead SCOBY. So this one may have, I think this may actually have been one of the ones that I was trying to revive when we had our big derecho back in August. I had some power outages, and I think some of this was from some of the stuff, and I wasn't able to check my SCOBYs, and I think things got kind of a little bit neglected, and that one was trying to revive that in the hotel, and it just didn't quite happen. So it's okay. We've got lots of SCOBYs, and I've got SCOBYs to share with some people that have been asking me to help them with all of this process. So what we're going to do is we're going to take most of this stuff, and we're going to put it in our jar here, which I actually will bring that over so you can see it. Yes, Kelly, we gotta show the people at home how we're pouring. This is a professional chef pouring here. Anyway, so I've got some tea left here, and we're gonna pour it in this hotel in a second. Got that. So our SCOBY is in there, just kind of hanging out. It'll float up in a little bit, and we're gonna cover this up, and we're gonna let it sit and relax for a little while and do its little magic, and then we are actually gonna work on our hotel here and get it fed. So here, all of our SCOBYs are hanging out. This is the stuff that I just poured out of this jar here. This stuff is pretty much just vinegar. If you were to taste it, it's probably gonna make your face go. So I'm not going to do that for you, so you're welcome. Nobody wants to see me do that. Well, probably you do. There's probably some people out there who probably want to see me do it, but I'm not going to do it. So, not that I'm opposed to drinking vinegar, because I actually do drink apple cider vinegar pretty much every day in something. So anyway, I'm going to take the rest of this tea mixture in here, put it into, again, more expert pouring. In there so that our other scobies, like these little baby guys, can hang out. And so now we're just going to take these scobies and put these in here. That one's the dead one. Throw these guys in here. So as long as these guys have you know, stuff growing on it and everything. This is the one that was originally in my kombucha batch that I've been using for a while. So we're going to not retire it, but we're going to let it rest in there for a little bit because it's been working pretty hard. And then this really, really big guy. So what you can do with a lot of these things is you can take layers off. This one has just been hanging out on the top and kind of just causing some problems here. So I may just take some of the pieces off of this. There's not a lot to it, but I've got plenty of little babies hanging out here. So this one I may just call it on that one, because I don't want this thing to end up getting so big that it blocks off all the oxygen and everything getting in here, because what's happening here is some pretty good SCOBY action. So we are not gonna probably put this really, really, really big, thick guy back in. I'm gonna examine it closer off of this video and see if it's something that I want to try to peel off some of these extra layers and save any of it, or if I can cut it up and maybe put it back in, which is probably what I'll do, is probably cut it up and put it back in here and see if it continues to grow or if it continues to just sort of be a big solid chunk and not really do anything. But then the other important part of this, there's a bunch of liquid that's on this plate, and I just want to make sure that this gets put back into my hotel, because there's like good stuff on there. That's like cooking something off and leaving the brown bits in the pan. So anyway, we've got this, and then the next step is I'm going to cover these things with, actually I just use coffee filters with a rubber band. Keeps all the pests out and allows air and everything to get in here so everything can breathe and do what it's supposed to do. And you'll notice I am wearing gloves. I wash my hands really well, but also I want to make sure that we've got everything is clean. I don't want any of the unknown bacteria or anything on my scobies and on all that stuff. So that is it for now. Alright, so this isn't very exciting. I just put the coffee filter on with a rubber band. I did that on both of them. This jar is a little more tricky, and you didn't need to see me struggling with that. So anyway, I just put the coffee filter on there. These guys are nice and marked up. This one is the hotel, so I marked when I fed it because I've got the original date on the side. So that one we just fed today, and this one we started today. And I'll put this lid on and we'll toss these over to our fermentation area in my kitchen. The kitchen lab place to hang out. Anyway, so that's it for this. Yeah. So thanks for coming to my TED Talk about kombucha. So I hope you enjoy this. Make sure you tell all your friends to follow me, because I'm planning on putting out some future videos. So this is just the first one. Alright, so here we are a couple days later. This is the spicy gingeric pineapple turmeric concoction. And this one is the coffee kombucha. So just checking this out, and you can see how it's nice and like bubbly. There's some of the jalapenos and that dried pepper kind of hanging out. I'm gonna see if I can pick this up here so I can get this in the, so you can see there's some nice bacteria forming in there, and a lot of that sugar is just dissolved. And same thing with this one. There's Now it's probably kind of hard to see, but actually there's really nothing in there. Now it's kind of drifting down there a little bit. But you can also see along here, let's see if I can get the glare off of here, all those nice little bubbles and stuff. And you can kind of see all that. That's partly the sugar and some of that bacteria that's forming in there. Yep, there we go. So I'm going to give this kind of a very gentle little stir here. This little stirry stir, not shaking it violently because it'll be like basically shaking up a soda bottle and letting that kind of explode. So we're just going to kind of give it a little gentle stir here. And then what we're going to do is, there, just burping it just a little bit. I don't know if you could hear that on the camera. I'll be quiet on the next one to see if you can actually hear this. So. There, that was a nice little sound. So, there we go. The two kombucha second fermentations. There you go. Alright, so with those, actually, I wanted to use two hands since I'm holding my phone here. So I wanted to use two hands and give it a nice little extra stir. I've actually just poured a little bit of each of these into a glass. So you can see the color outside of that jug. On this one is the coffee one. You can see the bubbles and stuff along the edge, so that's some nice carbonation. That one also has some carbonation. So I'm going to give these a little try. Yeah, and the coffee one has actually got some nice carbonation in it. I think I'm going to let it sit for another day or two. You can see after I've stirred it, we've got a nice line of bubbles forming, but I'm going to let it carbonate for just probably one more day, and it's probably going to be super good. And I'm going to taste this one. And that packs a nice little punch, a nice little kick of heat. But just like the coffee one, I'd like a little bit more carbonation in it. Taste is pretty good, but again, I want the carbonation in it. So we are going to let these little babies rest probably for another day, and then we will go back in and stir them up gently and do a little taste test and see how they are. All right, thanks. All right, so we are back, and it is day 3 of kombucha. And these guys should be ready. Just take a look at them earlier, and I just drug them out. Got them on the countertop here, and we're going to see what they look like and see if they're ready to go in the fridge. So here we've got the coffee kombucha, and it's got some nice bubbles on it, doing all kinds of fun things there. That looks like it's ready. And the spicy ginger turmeric pineapple concoction with the chili pepper, and there's the jalapeno. Looks like these guys are ready to go, so I'm gonna give it a test here. Alright, so we've got the spicy one. Let's give it a listen. That's a nice hiss. Ooh, I can smell that one too. And the coffee. That one had a little bit less of a hiss, but it's good. So, I'll give this a little shaky shake here. And pour a little bit into the cup. So that's some coffee. Do this one a little stir too, very gently. And since this one has nice pieces of ginger and some real pineapple juice in it, it's actually going to carbonate a little bit faster. Alright. There's that. Alright, so we're going to give these guys a try now. So this is the spicy ginger one. Oh, that's got some really good flavor. Perfectly tart, just a little hint of sweet, and rounds it off with some nice, a little bit of heat at the end. And that one is ready to go. There's just a little bit of bubbles on it, so it's not too much, but just about perfect for my taste. So now we're going to give the coffee a whirl. It's got that nice coffee flavor in there, with the kombucha tartness and sweetness in there as well. So all the good flavors. That one is also just as has got a nice little bit of carbonation to it, right where I'd like it. Some people might like it a little bit more carbonated, but I only like it just as a little bit carbonated, just so it gets enough. But these guys are going to be ready to go in the fridge and hang out and be able to enjoy them. So here we have it, front to back kombucha. So hope you enjoyed watching, and stay tuned for the next video. We got lots of things happening in the kitchen lab, so more to come. Stay tuned. Hi everybody, Mama K coming at you. If you liked that video, please make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Make sure that you check out the links below for links to my Instagram page. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.